Hello, hello, Dr. Sarah, your brain gal here, and I'm so excited to talk to you a little bit more about the brain. Last week, we talked a bit about Fronnie, which is our frontal lobe, and Amy G, which lives here in the center of our brain here, and she's just so emotional. Remember, she's the amygdala, and those are excellent parts of the brain to talk about when we talk about being open for learning and what things stay in our memories, because remember, we talked the hippo too, who's our hippocampus, and what things don't stay in our memory. So Amy G and Hip, we talked about it. They talk all the time. Well, I'm going to add to your brain knowledge and talk about Mr. BG. Mr. BG is the brain, the basal ganglia of our brain. And it's a very important structure because it helps to reduce the load of the frontal lobe. So it helps chill Fronnie out a little bit because she has a little less to do. So the BG is responsible for things like routines and consistent learning. Things like motor learning, like riding a bike, or more like habits, which is a cognitive learning, that things you do all the time over and over again. So when we talk about using the basal ganglia, Mr. BG, to take the load off Fronnie, we need to create routines. We need to do things over and over again. Number one way you can do this with your kids, morning routines, evening routines, doing things in the same way each time, asking about cleaning the room in the same way each time, maybe on the same day, making that a habit or routine. You're going to have such more consistent efforts from your kids than if you just surprise them with the cleaning of the room. So think about that when it comes to kids, especially kids who have a little bit of a delayed frontal lobe, or kids with ADHD, any kid who's a little bit has a little trouble controlling their responses. That tells us that their Fronnie needs a little bit of extra help, and Mr. BG is number one trick way to do that. So if you're having trouble getting your kids moving, if the frontal lobes of their brains, if Fronnie is really struggling to think and respond logically and control emotions, help a sister out and use Mr. BG. Get those routines going, create habits, create consistency. All of that lets BG take the load from Fronnie, and you'll see some exciting progress from your kids, and you'll see increased function in your kids faster than you can say BG.